So what's the deal with Might Guy's tortoise? It's definitely going to be one of the weirdest summons in the Naruto series, and what is it for even? Because Guy only uses the tortoise twice, and it doesn't do a lot in the story, but it's one of those obscure summons that has some very weird things about it, and we're gonna get to them. Now, the first time Guy uses the turtle is when Lee is fighting against Sasuke before the Chunin exams begin, and Lee is just completely demolishing Sasuke with his amazing speed. Even though Sasuke has his Sharingan activated, he cannot follow Rock Lee's movements. And because Rock Lee really wishes to prove himself a worthy opponent to somebody talented, he's gonna go ahead and open the first gate using the primary Lotus against Sasuke. And that's a big no-no because there's a rule for Lee to use that jutsu, and it's when he has to save somebody precious to him, protecting people that matter. Obviously that bout was worth nothing, like there were no stakes pretty much, it was only Lee's own pride that was at stake. And so he is interrupted by a very strange creature, this red turtle that's like pretty damn big, that can talk, and that's literally wearing a Leaf Village headband. The turtle tells Lee that was stupid, that he shouldn't have done that. That jutsu is way too dangerous, and he can only use that when it's appropriate. And Lee, this guy that was stomping Sasuke, the genius Uchiha that we came to respect, and that is respected by Naruto and Sakura, is now pretty much on his knees apologizing to that turtle. The turtle appears pretty severe, and because it's literally wearing a leaf headband, Naruto asks a very pertinent question. Is that turtle Bushibrao Sensei? And Sakura even says, don't ask stupid questions, but it's not a stupid question, is it? The creature is wearing a headband. It can talk, and Rock Lee is pretty much talking to it as if the turtle is his sensei. So I would say Naruto's actually onto something here. Lee and the turtle keep going at it. And by the way, did you know the turtle actually has a name? If you know the turtle's name, definitely let me know in the comments below because I did not know it before I did research for the video. The turtle is called Ningame. Nin for ninja, game for tortoise or turtle, whatever, same thing. But that's the summon's name. And eventually the turtle says, Lee, you're gonna have to face the consequences for your act. We're gonna have to punish you. And Lee's like, alright, yeah, I'll do whatever you want. And that's when Guy shows up, and the first panel Guy appears in the series is actually pretty iconic. He's on top of the turtle with that flamboyant pose of his, saying, "Oh, the exuberance of youth!" His introduction is really cool. Team 7 as a whole is completely weirded out by Guy and the turtle and Rock Lee because they're all weirdos and they have massive eyebrows. And obviously my Guy and Rock Lee's interaction is great there. It's really funny, and it feels like Guy is joking around, that he's not a serious guy, pretty much. But then, you have that question in your mind, as the reader, when you're consuming that for the first time, you're like, okay, is this guy for real? Like, what the hell is going on here? And then, he does something that surprises Sasuke very much. Sasuke is looking at Guy talking to Lee from far away, and then Guy's like, yeah, by the way, I'm Kakashi's rival. And Team 7's like, what? You're Kakashi's rival? You don't look like a powerful guy. I mean, Kakashi Sensei is really strong. I kinda doubt you're on his level. And then as Sasuke is looking at Guy, he disappears from far away and appears right behind Sasuke as if he had teleported, but that's only through sheer speed. And that really surprises Sasuke. That's when he understands, okay, yeah, this guy, yeah, he's the real deal. And then Guy says, yeah, I'm leading Kakashi 50-49. The turtle doesn't do much else after Guy shows up, to be fair. And it almost seems like the turtle is an afterthought because it's barely ever relevant again. Kishimoto used the turtle to make my Guy's introduction feel funnier, weird, a little bit whimsical even. And also to surprise the audience and use a bit of misdirection like, oh, is the turtle really Rock Lee Sensei? And then no, oh, it's actually Guy, that's his summon, that's interesting, I guess. But it just really adds to Guy's vibe that he's a very unconventional guy, to say the least. And it very much feels like this summon is one of those weird Kishimoto ideas, because the guy really liked talking animals. Like, before the editors came into Naruto, Kishimoto wanted to make pretty much every character in the series a talking animal. And I'm glad Naruto didn't turn out that way, but you can see some remnants of those traits from Kishimoto, those things that he likes here in the turtle. This scene though has a few layers of complexity to it though, in universe that is. Because Rock Lee pretty much acknowledges the turtle as his sensei when he is first talking to it. Now, is it because Rock Lee would know Guy's around because the turtle is around, because Guy's the only person that can summon it, and so he's being very respectful towards it, as if he's talking to Guy because he knows Guy's around? Or is the turtle actually really damn powerful and Rock Lee really fears it? It could be either way the first time we read the scene, and yes, the turtle wears a headband, so it technically classifies as a ninja. Not many Naruto summons wear headbands. We have the turtle here, Ningame, we have Enma, the Monkey King, that here is in summons, and we also have Kakashi's dogs wearing the leaf headbands, but that's it! So do these animals go through the Ninja Academy like the Genins go through to get their headbands? Or do they just get the headbands to signify they are the summon from a leaf ninja and they also have shinobi capabilities? So yeah, I mean, give them the headbands, sure. If you're helping out the Leaf Village, you can get the headband as long as you're in contract with one of our ninjas. And you can also justify other summons not using headbands because they're gonna be either too big or too small for them. Like Fukasaku and Shima, for example, are way too tiny for a headband. The headband would pretty much cover their entire bodies. And someone like Gamabunta or Katsuyu, they can't really wear headbands, that'd be just too goofy, and it would have to be a hunk of metal the size of a building pretty much to create a headband for them. And also, how would that work with Katsuyu anyways, because Katsuyu's body can split into several other smaller bodies, so how would that work with a freaking headband? It wouldn't, I guess. So the most likely explanation for the headband is that Ningame has an appropriate size to wear a headband, and it's obviously the summon of a ninja from the Leaf Village, and I guess Ningame also has shinobi capabilities, even though we never see Ningame fight in any capacity whatsoever. Now, a lot of people claim that Might Guy being able to summon the turtle is a plot hole because Might Guy does not know ninjutsu. How can he use ninjutsu to summon the turtle? But that was never said, actually. Rock Lee is the one incapable of using genjutsu or ninjutsu, so yeah, Lee would never be able to summon anything. Guy is not like that. Yes, Guy's pretty terrible at ninjutsu or genjutsu, but he can still use those things. Sure, when Kakashi and Guy were watching over Lee in the academy, and Guy's like, oh, I like that kid, and Kakashi's like, yeah, he reminds me of someone obviously nodding to Guy and his lack of talent when they were younger, but they're not necessarily gonna be exactly the same in terms of their capabilities. Guy is able to use very basic ninjutsu. I cannot imagine that summoning the turtle would be a massive undertaking from Guy. It's not one of those Sanin summons that are gigantic, that you have to spend a lot of chakra. Naruto wasn't able to summon Gamabunta until he got the Nine Tails' chakra in part 1. The turtle's probably much simpler, and Guy is able to do it, even though he is bad at ninjutsu. We also see Guy releasing genjutsu when Kabuto casts the genjutsu in the Chunin Exams arena, so he has some genjutsu capabilities as well. Obviously he doesn't cast genjutsu, and he's probably incapable of doing so because he simply doesn't have the ability to, but he can definitely fight it off. So yeah, it makes sense. Guy is not like Lee. Lee is less talented than Guy when it comes to other stuff. But even still, Guy lacked talent in ninjutsu and genjutsu, so he focused much more on taijutsu, and he saw himself in Lee. But even more, I suppose, because Lee couldn't use ninjutsu and genjutsu at all. Now, moving on to the second time Guy uses the summoning jutsu, it's way later in Naruto Shippuden in the Turtle Island, when Guy is chasing after Kisame reveals himself. So Kisame exits the Waterfall of Truth, and then he's running away. Guy jumps after him using the gates, and he jumps really far because the gates are powerful, but he's not gonna jump far enough. So he literally summons his turtle midair and uses it as a platform to propel himself further. And Guy hadn't summoned the turtle in a long time. By the way the scene happens, it's pretty much implied that Guy hadn't summoned the turtle ever since the Chunin Exams the first time we saw the turtle. Because Ningame says, oh, long time no see, right after Guy summons him, but then he's like, oh, but we're midair, what? And Guy's like, oh yeah, I have to go, and then he blasts himself off of it. It's pretty funny. Imagine you haven't been summoned for around 5 years or so, and you're just chilling, right? Things are pretty calm. You guess your ninja doesn't really need you anymore because he can cover things by himself, and all of a sudden you're summoned. You're midair flying really fast, but you can't really fly, can you? You are a turtle, you don't have wings. And then your ninja uses you as a platform and blasts you down? I can't imagine that would have been very fun. That scene really reminds me of Mario using Yoshi as a platform to not die and killing Yoshi in the process in the games. Now, of course, the turtle doesn't die like Yoshi does when Mario uses it as a platform, but it's still, I think that was very much a conscious reference by Kishimoto, because there are also a lot of turtles in the Mario games, so he uses the turtle as a platform. Sure, it's not Yoshi, but it's pretty similar, let's be real here. And I mean, it was worth doing so because Guy catches up to Kisame, they have a fight, Guy uses the Hero Door for the first time, defeating Kisame. They almost get information on the Akatsuki as to who the masked man is after the capture of Kisame, and then Kisame eats himself with his sharks, dying in the process in a pretty epic death. So the turtles saved the day. Well, it wasn't as if Kisame was going to run away with Naruto or Killer Bee taking another tail beast to the Akatsuki, but it was one less Akatsuki for them to have to worry about. So the sacrifice was worth it, and there's another interesting thing that happens with a turtle whenever it lands down on the island. Because Ningame actually lands on a massive turtle after a guy uses it as a platform. And Ningame is like, oh god, you're a massive turtle, what the hell? And then that massive turtle's like, oh no, I'm just a wee turtle. You have to look at the one we're on right now. And that's when we get the reveal that the island Naruto had been training with Bee on is a gigantic island-sized turtle that can move, and so it's a great way to hide Naruto and Killer Bee for the war. It's not an island that you can draw on the map, you can evade detection, even though Kabuto eventually finds the turtle island, and even though Naruto and Killer Bee eventually escape from the island anyways. So at least Ningame has this additional scene where he kinda sees the greatest turtle in existence, I suppose. But then the question is, Ningame doesn't seem like the most powerful summon, does it? It wasn't as if Guy was using Ningame to aid him in fights. The only time he uses it is to, just blast himself further. And most summons either aid the shinobi during battle, or they serve some other purpose, like sending a message, or like Akashi's dogs tracking by scent or some other way. Or like Sasuke's hawk that he doesn't really use to fight, but he uses to fly, which is very useful. So summons are going to be either battle-centric, or they're going to have a more niche ability that's going to help the shinobi out in a different type of situation. But what does the turtle really do? I mean, is the turtle's function to serve as a midair platform for Guy? Because I don't see that being applied very often. I mean, sure, it was applied once and it was very important, but would a ninja really get a summon just to do that? I wouldn't really put it past Guy because he knows he can use the gates, and that makes him very powerful. That makes him able to jump very, very far away. So maybe if he needs an extra step, using the turtle to boost him up would be pretty good. But how often does Guy need to do that? I don't know. Even when we see flashbacks in those filler episodes when Guy was in the 3rd grade ninja war as a teenager, he was not really summoning the turtle. He was just using the gates and fighting people. And from a purely mechanical standpoint in the narrative, the turtle is completely superfluous. You did not need the turtle in Rock Lee vs Sasuke there. If you wanted to, you could just introduce Guy to begin with and have the same interaction, and you could still make it pretty fun. Also, in the Kisame fight, you could just have Guy jump far away enough for him to reach Kisame without using the turtle. And then you could have the Turtle Island revealed in another way. It doesn't have to be through the perspective of the only turtle summon we know in this series, but it makes sense that it is. So my theory for the turtle is that Guy summoned it when he was very young, fresh out of the academy, trying to learn more ninjutsu. Maybe he tried to learn the summoning jutsu to pass the academy exams and ended up summoning this weird looking turtle that's, let's face it, not particularly powerful as far as we can tell. But Guy was able to summon it and they formed a contract. And so the turtle helped Guy out in his shinobi life, maybe training Guy if the turtle knew anything about taijutsu, maybe not sparring with Guy but giving him tips and stuff, and maybe even allowed him to pass the exams because Guy was capable of using at least one type of ninjutsu. I mean, I don't really see Guy using the clone jutsu or anything like that. He never used the substitution jutsu either, so I don't know if he's capable of doing those things, and those things are requirements for you to become a ninja, pass the academy exams. But like Naruto, he used the multi-shadow clone jutsu to pass the exams without doing the other stuff. Guy could have used the summoning jutsu, and there's one specific characteristic of turtles that's very interesting here, because they tend to be extremely old. And I'm not a specialist in turtle biology or anything, but if I were to hazard a guess, I would say Ningame is pretty old. It looks pretty old, and it's big. There are some turtles in the real world that grow to a pretty large size, and the older they are, the bigger they get. Now, obviously, this is a fantasy turtle, so it's not gonna be exactly like a real turtle or tortoise, whatever, but you do get the feeling this thing is old, and because Rock Lee respects it so much, maybe he knows it's an elder, so he has to respect it. So maybe the turtle is not extremely powerful, but it could have a lot of knowledge, for it lived for a very long time, so it could give Guy a lot of wisdom at least. And so Guy decided to keep it around as his summon. Now yeah, I'm looking too much into it. Obviously Kishimoto used the turtle as comic relief pretty much, misdirection, whimsy in the story, but it's interesting to think about how the turtle summon came to be, because you wouldn't expect Guy to use something like that, would you? Or maybe because he's so unpredictable, you would actually expect him to have such an unpredictable summon. Do you think this summon is powerful? Let me know in the comments below. Please like the video, subscribe, and don't forget to ring notifications. Those are important. Watch this other video right here about another iconic and obscure summon in the Naruto series, and thank you so much for watching.